Hi, I'm Mike Papantonio, and this is America's Lawyer, where we dig behind the headlines to give the details and information that corporate media just is incapable of giving you. As always, I'm here with Ring of Fire's Farron Cousins, the best, absolutely the best progressive voice in the business. I know I say that a lot, but I truly mean it, in case you haven't figured out.
I appreciate it.
You know, the stories are all over the place this week. There's so much coming at us. You found a story I thought was brilliant. It was the story about corporate America sucking up to Trump the same way that Joe and Mika sucked up to Trump. I read this story and I said, my God, is this the new thing? Do we show up in Mar-a-Lago and kiss his ring? This is pathetic. What I'm seeing with corporate America is pathetic. Pick it up.
It really is. You know, Joe and Mika really did kick it off. So you got to give full credit to them. They really started this "we all have to suck up to Trump" thing. And then Mark Zuckerberg, who Trump, a few months ago threatened to send him to jail for the rest of his life. Zuckerberg goes down to Mar-a-Lago day before Thanksgiving. They have a wonderful dinner together. And Zuckerberg, of course, well, Elon Musk was not happy about this, right? I mean, that's his big competition in the social media world. But Zuckerberg down there, because Zuckerberg knows, okay, I've got to come over here and kiss the ring. I don't want regulations.
Right.
I don't want anybody coming after Meta, because they actually just had a horrible court ruling against them in Washington. Tens of millions of dollars.
Yes.
So he knows, okay, look, I have probably got a lot more lawsuits that could be on the back burner.
He's on the ropes right now.
Yeah, let me go cozy up to the guy that's picking the DOJ. Let's make sure that we don't get any antitrust suits or anything like that, because that's what it's about. We don't want to get investigated. We don't want to get sued.
Yeah.
I'll stay at Mar-a-Lago. I'll book a bunch of rooms. I'll pay all the money. Just please let us do whatever the hell we want for the next 4 years.
Okay, wait. Let me listen. You're Zuckerberg, right? You go down to kiss Trump's ring. When you do, here's what you know. This is a guy that said, if you screw up again, Zuckerberg, you're going to have life in prison. He literally said that. He complained about the fact that Zuckerberg has hustled him, become a Democrat spokesman, a Democrat voice that gave $400 million to some of the issues that the Dems were talking about on COVID and some other issues. So he says that you're going to spend life in prison if you don't come into understanding what I want to say to you. All right, here's what I remember about Zuckerberg. I don't think I ever heard him talking. 2 years ago, where this overused word, existential. I love that you never use that word, existential. It's like every idiot in the media has picked up on this word, existential threat to democracy, existential threat to, whatever. So he's using the existential word almost nonstop about what a threat Trump is. It's a tough turnaround, man. And if you're Trump, what do you do with it? You've got him, basically. You got the little guy. And as you say, the lawsuits have just started. We have a whole string of lawsuits we're getting ready to bring in against this little guy.
Yeah.
So take it from there.
Yeah, and those are damaging enough. What Zuckerberg is truly concerned about are the potential DOJ charges for antitrust, monopoly, those kinds of things. Google has already been hit with that. So he knows, I have to play ball. I can no longer criticize this man. If I got to start writing some checks, I'll do that. I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep the DOJ off my back.
It's pathetic. It's his business, but it's pathetic. It's just as pathetic as this story that you found. I love this story. You found this. I guess it's maybe a Wall Street Journal article. Oddly enough, but it's these sycophant types in corporate America. Gee whiz, we're here to talk to you. We're different now. We know we gave a bunch of money to your opposition. We know we've been hugely critical of you. We know we've made it look like you're a threat to democracy. But you know what? All that's history. So what are they doing now?
They are, this is almost hilarious. They're going through and they're scrubbing their websites about any language that includes inclusion, diversity, those key words that, of course, Republicans seized on in the election, saying Democrats are more concerned with DEI than they are about your, personal financial situation. So these corporations say, okay, we tried the left-wing thing. We tried to pretend that we were allies with Democrats. Now the Democrats have no power nationally. We got to go back to being on the right, like we were in the Bush years and for part of the Obama years. So now suddenly, no more diversity, no more inclusion, no more talking about women in leadership.
We're one of you.
All of it's got to go.
Right, we're one of you, Trump. We see exactly what you see. We see it every time there's this regime change. Look, you may not agree with me, but here's what I'm saying. I'm seeing a sweep of the old Obama, of the old Clinton, of the old Biden. The notion of globalism, for example. Listen carefully to what these new people are talking about. Listen carefully to what these folks that are coming up to be appointed to God knows everything, It's all in there. And it is, we reject everything that's happened for the last 15 years in America. And you know what? We believe, whether it's accurate or not, but we believe the American public has too. We believe the American public has rejected all that. They want to throw it all out. And that's what corporate America has finally come to terms with. That's what they believe. And right now they're fighting for they're worried about Kennedy, They're worried about the pharmaceutical industry is terrified of Kennedy. Why? Because he talks about the revolving door. He talks about how revolving doors are killing this country, right? We've talked about that. Pick it up.
Yeah, but that's why he should have been in charge of the FDA to prevent the revolving door, to actually put more stringent regulations on drug approval and medical device approval.
Right.
EPA is where he should be.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of him personally at HHS.
I know you are.
But at the EPA, I would not have objected to a single piece of that because, doing research for him for years on Ring of Fire, that guy knows more about environmental issues. He was on the front lines. He was at the barricades. Got arrested so many times for it. The environment is where he belongs. That's where his knowledge, in my opinion, is. I don't like what he says about health. I know he's taken on pharmaceutical companies in court.
Big
Absolutely.
time.
But the things he has pushed about public health, a lot of it has been debunked. That's not where I trust him. I trust him on the environment. I don't trust him over on this issue.
Well, I'll tell you who doesn't trust him, worse than you, is the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh, their stocks have gone in the toilet.
They are terrified.
Yeah.
Here's what he came out the other day and said, why in the hell are we advertising pharmaceuticals? Why are we telling patients that aren't even patients that if they've got a headache, this is the thing they need to go tell their doctor to give them? Or if they're having kidney problems, you diagnose yourself and then go tell the doctor.
Yeah.
There's only one other country in the world that does that's New Zealand.
Yep.
And he says, why are we doing this to where every 3 minutes on corporate television that is making a bundle on pharmaceutical? Why is it every 3 minutes we have to listen to this? Why are we letting the pharmaceutical industry take control of that? The other thing is, why are these costs so high? What is a PBM? Why are we allowing a PBM to take a cut? Just like, the middleman, like this book that I have coming out in March, where the PBMs are taking a cut for no reason. So those are the things that corporate America is worried about. They're worried about across the board, though. They're worried about the DOJ. They're worried about the Attorney General. They're worried across the board. They are freaking out right now, and I love to see it. To me, I love to see it. Well, okay, next story to me that is just so amazing is, can MSNBC make it through the year? Can CNN even make it through the year? Right now, Farron, I looked at to verify. Our views are higher than CNN right now. They're higher in prime time.
Yeah.
They're even higher than MSNBC. But those folks believe that they have such huge impact on the politics of this country. Take it from there. You've been a long critic of this for a long time. Go ahead.
It is, Rachel Maddow has agreed to take a pay cut That's how bad things are. Because MSNBC has purged, I think, 53% of their viewership, CNN, 47% of theirs. So they just hemorrhaging viewers in the last month. And to be honest, something similar happened on YouTube with all of the people on the left. There were massive subscriber exoduses, I guess you would call them. And then within about 2 weeks, everybody had gained everything back. Everything's back to normal.
Not
and fine,
MSNBC and
but
CNN.
not with the corporate media.
Yeah.
And I think there is a good reason for this. I was actually talking to my wife about this yesterday. I think what sets this apart, why these corporate media outlets are dying, and not Fox, of course, because Fox's audience wants to tune in for the rabble, for the crazy. This is what we believe. But on the left here, you don't want to sit there and have these CNN hosts or MSNBC hosts lecture you.
Right.
You don't care to sit there and watch them talk to the politician
even
of the day.
journalists.
Right, because when they're talking to the person of the day, they're not really getting news. They're getting that person's talking points about why they're good, this side's bad, blah, 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 thank you. But they're talking to each other. Now, what I do every day...
The bubble, the Democrat bubble.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
what I do every day is I look into the camera and I'm talking to the person. Whoever it is that is watching that video, I'm talking to you. I'm having a conversation with you. When you listen to a podcast, people feel like they're part of the conversation instead of just watching two people talk about things you don't understand on TV. That's the difference. That's why YouTube has become far more popular. That's why podcasts are surging. It gives you a sense of feeling like you're a part of the conversation instead of being lectured by people who talk down to you.
Well, not only that, you're good at what you do, okay? That's one reason they watch. Second of all, you're not committed to a baseball team.
Right.
You know, you understand this is not, now you absolutely have nothing but awful things to say about Trump, and you have for years and years. And you regularly attack Republicans, but you also attack Democrats.
Yeah.
When the Democrat comes out with boneheaded ideas and they're so far out there, you're not afraid to do that. They will not do that on MSNBC. They won't do it on CNN. And there's another thing that I read. I
They'll
thought
attack the hell out of Bernie Sanders, though.
yeah, well,
they'll absolutely go after that
because
guy.
he's not a real Democrat, you know. So, I read something I thought was really interesting, and it is that the American public is tired of being hustled and lied to by MSNBC and CNN. Here what they talked about. They talked about Biden is fine, right? Everything's fine with Biden. Russiagate. Most people don't even believe it happened now, and now they're opening up to that. That Kamala is winning. Yeah, I mean, these are all lie after lie that corporate media, they turn on Rachel Maddow, and she's saying all of this. And they're thinking, oh, great, everything's fine. But it's all a lie. And it's a lie that's being told because they pay Rachel Maddow $30 million. So she says, okay, I know that this is all nonsense, but I'm going to say it anyway. That's one of the big factors that I read that people are reacting to. They say, I don't feel like turning into MSNBC and knowing that what they're telling me is nothing but a big hustle because corporate is telling them to say that. Corporate says, this is our talking point for the day. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
When I did MSNBC as a commentator with Ed Schultz, these memos would come down. This is what we're going to say about TPP. This is what we're going to say about Hillary. And Ed would say, hell no, this is not what I want to say. And they freaked out about it, right? Because they weren't being listened to. Corporate leadership was being ignored by Ed Schultz, right?
Yeah. And a big part of that too with the whole Biden thing was something you and I, for well over a year actually, talking about how Biden was declining.
Oh, no.
We took so much heat for that. And hey, guess what? We were 100% right about that. But the corporate media wasn't there. They only got there when Biden, crapped the bed during that debate. But everybody else that was looking at this objectively,
For months
we had
and months.
been there. So that was a huge hit to the credibility of these networks that pretended everything is fine, nothing to worry about here. And when you look at Biden today, he's so much worse today than he was in that debate. I think this man right now is on borrowed time.
He started to walk out of the damn Amazon jungle just 3 weeks ago. He did not know where he was. That was the only explanation. He turned around. He's looking, well, where's my handlers? Well, there's no handlers, Joe, because they've all left you. You are alone now. And so he starts walking into the damn Amazon jungle. It's so sick. But they knew that. Rachel Maddow knew that. Joy Reid knew that. Joe and Mika knew that.
The White House people they had on their programs every day.
Right. They all knew it.
Yeah.
But so Rachel, who, she took a $5 million cut. She's being paid $30 million. Why? Because she says what the hell needs to be said to please corporate. And that's what Joe and Mika's always done. Joy Reid, hell, I don't know. She's out like in the ozone. I don't even know what she babbles about anymore. But they better have a come to Jesus meeting. And they better say, this doesn't work anymore. This is like an old model that doesn't work. Comcast, what do you think they're going to do?
I really don't know, because you either have to retool this entire network, which takes time, it takes money, and there's a horrible rebuilding process that goes into that, or you go down with the ship. You keep playing in the band as the Titanic sinks into the water, trying to keep everybody calm, but either way, it's not in a good situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've got a serious credibility issue. I think a lot of people have already found better outlets to go to, outlets where people can actually speak their mind without fear of the corporations, without fear of these overlords. They can talk and they can speak passionately and intelligently. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be on cable news to matter anymore. Yeah. And I think these hosts on MSNBC don't quite understand that yet.
So while we're talking about Biden walking out into the Amazon, let's talk about the biggest screw up of his entire presidency. And there's been a lot of them. But this pardon, the pardon of the man-child, the spoiled man-child who has grown up in an alternative reality, a reality that's made him a drug addict, some kind of, go down the list of this. I've called this guy a dirtbag. And people get so upset. He is a dirtbag. It wasn't just addiction. Like, this is a guy who had a child, ignored his child like she didn't exist. He made films of himself with strippers and hookers and was proud of it, put it out, kept it secret until it hit the internet, and they had no words to describe what in the hell are you doing, okay? I don't know how, there's no way I can see anybody defending the guy. Because he grew up in a bubble, a DC bubble. He's a spoiled man-child. And he has, in Biden, by taking this move, has risked, I think he's risked the validity of democracy, of the civil justice process.
I'm okay with it.
Too strong? Well, I know.
I first of all, cannot stress enough also, I don't care. We all knew this was happening. You and I actually stood here 2 weeks ago from this moment, and we talked about the fact this will happen. And at the time, both kind of agreed, like, hey, whatever, it's going to happen, no big deal. Yeah. I don't think it was important enough for the New York Times to run 7 front-page stories on it on Monday, for the Washington Post to run 6 front-page stories on it on Monday. So between those two alone, 13 stories in a matter of hours on the front page, when we had information that Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump's defense secretary, that horrible report from the New Yorker, buried because of Hunter Biden. Yeah. Kash Patel, a guy who's threatened to go after the media once he gets to the FBI. And by the way, hey, guess who that is too?
That's us.
Buried because of Hunter Biden. And look, I don't think that Hunter Biden is a good person by any stretch. I'm not defending anything this guy has done.
I'm sure
but
you're not.
If I were in a position and my kid was in trouble and I could get my kid out of trouble waving a pen, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Okay, here's the problem I'm seeing with it, Farron. That 2 weeks ago when we talked about this, I did say, no big thing. I really meant the gun charge. I thought the gun charge was ridiculous. They had to really work to do it. There are plenty of people in prison for the same thing that he was convicted of. You understand?
Right.
A lot of people in prison for that. But to me, the $1.4 million for tax evasion, unacceptable. Especially when Daddy makes the decision, I'm going to put 90,000 new IRS people out there to make sure you or I play by the rules. But man-child, spoiled man-child, we're going to let him get away with $1.4 million. How about the other part of it? Here's where you and I don't know, we disagree. I mean, I think I'm seeing it a little different. I'm saying, why would you take this pardon all the way back to 2014? Okay?
Which is what I said he would do. I said he would go
You
back all the way.
absolutely, you said he'd go as far as he possibly could. But I really didn't even believe that would happen. When you said it, I'm thinking, no, that's not going to happen. But he did it. He goes back to 2014 because of Burisma, right? Because Burisma, whether, we don't know all the facts of Burisma now, but we're going to. And the truth is, it's going to involve his brother. It's going to involve Jim Biden, Joe Biden's brother, possibly the entire family. And they don't have immunity, you understand. At this point, there has not been a blanket immunity all the way back to 2014 for the entire Biden family. It's a problem for them, whether you want to accept that or not. If I'm a prosecutor and it's payback time, I'm going to go to Burisma. And I'm going to say, wait, let me get this right. Here you had a totally corrupt oil and gas company that was being prosecuted by somebody who had all the material on them. Here's the list of material, bad material about Burisma. All of a sudden, the President of the United States shows up and says, you better fire this prosecutor or there's going to be sanctions.
Yeah, the global community,
Yeah,
you mean. Not just our president, the global community.
I understand, but the president participated when his son was on the board, Farron. You can't ignore that.
Shokin was actually going after. No, he wasn't going after. He was going soft on Burisma. That is what was happening at the time. So it's not because he was going after them. Part of it had to do with the fact he was not going after them. But let me also say here, though, is that we had, for 2 straight years now, we're in the 24th month of it, Republicans in the House of Representatives on 3 separate committees every week investigating this stuff.
Yeah.
They got nothing.
Okay,
Nothing. They brought in these so-called whistleblowers. Some they had to pull out of prison.
But you know what they're saying about that? They're saying now whether it's true or not, it's a pretty good talking point. The talking point, the very reason we couldn't get to the bottom of it was because we had the DOJ interfering with real information. That's the talking point on that. I know exactly what you're saying. But their comeback is that's the talking point. And so, I mean, I don't know. The guy's a dirtbag. And to say I'm going to save this dirtbag and run the risk of every American thinking there's a 2-tier justice process in America. There's the haves and the have-nots. The have-nots go to prison, the haves don't. That somehow we can actually say we're above the law. And when you add the fact situation up with Jim, Biden's brother, being involved in the Burisma thing, whether we don't know where that really goes, or big guy being involved. It's these little bits and pieces to where I used to prosecute. And I got to tell you, if I had these little facts and I wanted to make them count, all of this we're going to see again and again. So I think he has to give he needs to blanket pardon the entire Biden family, I believe.
Well, I mean, look, another part to me, too, is that we got a guy that's coming into office that has 34 felonies, convicted of 34 felonies. So is Hunter Biden above the law now? Sure. We got a convicted felon walking into the White House. We got a pardoned criminal, a pardoned felon, kind of like Hunter Biden is now, that's about to be the ambassador to France. So, you know,
I get it.
If we want to sit here, not us, but the media has made this into this is the biggest story in the world. And it's really not. You know, it is a story of corruption, but my God, we see these kinds of pardons with every single person that goes through that presidency. You know, Trump, when he pardoned Steve Bannon and Manafort and Roger Stone. Bill Clinton, when he pardons family members and all that crap.
The rich. Oh my
you know,
God.
H.W. Bush did it with the Iran-Contra people and Reagan. We have to rein in the pardon power.
Right.
Because this is not a Biden problem. This is a Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, Reagan, Nixon, Ford.
This will be remembered as a Biden problem. That's my prediction. This will be, when you talk about pardon, look, you had all of the airbag talking heads 2 days before he did this, talking about what a wonderful president Biden is because he's made the statement, I'm not going to pardon. You remember this? I mean, MSNBC, you couldn't turn it on without them, these accolades about what an incredible man this is, how honest he is, how above the law. I mean, yeah, how really the law.
And that's what drives you crazy about that is everybody with a brain knew this was coming.
Well, I'm not suggesting we're the only people with the brain, but we did. We talked about this a lot.
We even talked about it every time we talked about Biden, even possibly resigning the presidency. We said, go out there, pardon your son, resign from office. Pardon your son, resign from. We have so many clips of us saying that this is what was going to happen. And so for anybody to act like this came out of left field, like the media is doing, you are too stupid to be talking about the news anymore then, because, my God, a child could have predicted that Biden was going to pardon his son.
I mean, how about Whoopi Goldberg in The View? You would have thought that they were inviting Biden on the show to have sex with him because he's such a remarkable person for not pardoning his son. That's how crazy this is. And then today you got Whoopi out there, oh, well, he didn't know he was going to pardon. Have you heard that argument? No, the argument, he didn't know he was going to pardon. Like he just woke up one day on Thanksgiving morning and said, by golly, I have figured something out.
He may not know that he did pardon him. I mean, to be honest,
he may not.
He may see him at Christmas dinner and say, I thought you were in jail.
Okay.
I don't know.
You brought up the prosecutions of Trump. I think it's over.
It is. 100%.
I think it's so.
Yeah.
I think you have people back there kind of clutching their pearl necklace that are totally delusional. That honest to God, as they're watching, they're thinking, well, something's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. Somebody's going to throw him in jail. Talk about how ridiculous that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to happen. Look, Jack Smith has already cleaned out his office. He's gotten the hell out of town. And they're going to remove all of these charges. And guess what, folks? If they don't, Trump's just going to pardon himself. And he'll use the Hunter Biden thing as the excuse for that. He'll do it anyway, but he now has this as the, I'm only doing it because this guy did.
They did it.
And the media will go along with it. The media is the worst part. They will play
media,
that.
based on what the New York Times is disgusting to me.
I think they all are at this point.
But the New York Times is particularly disgusting. If somebody doesn't take leadership of the New York Times, they're not going to be around 5 years from now. And I say that because of the very thing you were talking about. There 13 articles on the pardon. Well, there's never been anybody that supported this president and denied day after day that he was going to pardon anybody. Editorial after editorial, we love Biden because he's not going to pardon anybody. They look like a bunch of morons. Why? Because ideology got in the way, Farron. The very thing that we talk about all the time. I don't have any ideology. I really don't. I'm not an ideologue to the left, ideologue to the right. I really am not. But as I watch what the New York Times has done, they've put themselves in such a terrible situation here. Now, he can't pardon himself in state court. You understand?
Right.
He can't do that. But if you look at the underpinnings of those state court claims, they're almost laughable. I mean, the way that the prosecutor went into the grand jury room, the stuff that's coming out of there, how they hustled the grand, it's almost ridiculous.
Well, I think what's going to happen is that, at least in New York, where we already have the convictions, I do think Merchan is going to toss them. The judge up there.
I think
he's not going to keep them in place because what are his options if he keeps the convictions? Is okay. I'll see you back here in 4.5 years for your sentencing.
He won't even be around. This judge won't be around 4 years from now.
Trump may not be around. I mean, he's not the healthiest guy either. So it's not going to happen. And then in Georgia, where actually they do have I think the Georgia case has always been a bit of the strongest one. But you have a system of Republicans in there that have already kneecapped it to the point where there's now it has been indefinitely delayed long before the election because they're investigating Fani Willis and they're investigating everything else involved in it. It'll be tossed too because they're going to realize we can't bring this guy down here while he's president and we're not going to wait 4.5 years.
Let me tell you what will stand. I think the civil case is going to stand, not the $454 million. That's gone. Appellate court's going to take, you talk about a hustle by the people that prosecuted that case. everybody on Wall Street was looking at this case, Farron, okay? What they were trying to say is that he faked and phonied up documents and increased the value. There's nobody on Wall Street that doesn't do that. If the appellate court would verify this and they were let this stand, you would see disaster on Wall Street. There's no way that's going to stand. I believe that the other civil cases, what was it? How much was he hit for the sexual abuse?
85.
85. I believe that's going to stand. It might be reduced a little bit. That was a pretty clean case from what I could see. But the civil suit on the $454 million, it's going to be reversed.
You know, it's actually funny you say that about, because I've always said, I do believe E. Jean Carroll, nothing against her. I think she's good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if he had even hired a somewhat competent lawyer to defend him in that case, I think he could have won.
We watched it.
I mean,
yeah.
He called her a liar, and now he has to pay $85 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that is such like the bare minimum to even maybe meet the defamation threshold. And again, I agree with her. I'm glad she won. But she lucked out because he picks the worst lawyers God has ever seen.
I totally agree. He's going to pay some money for that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he's going to pay. But the 454 gone. The criminal cases gone. Yeah. It's just but what kills me is you have these delusional, these starry-eyed, folks clutching their pearl necklace, saying something's going to happen. No, it ain't going to happen.
I get people that message me and say, Farron, he's a convicted felon. That means he can't be president. I'm like, no, what are you talking? Yes, he can. Yeah. Like he could have become president even if he was currently serving time behind bars.
That's right.
Why do people not understand this? Look,
because they want to believe it. They hate Trump so badly. Look, the votes that Kamala Harris got were not for Kamala. They were against Trump. Okay, those are votes against Trump. I think if you turn that around and say, what about on the Trump side? I think most of those votes were for Trump. They were for that kind of change that they were looking for. But they hate the guy. And it's killing them as they're watching and they're praying, oh, God, isn't something bad going to happen? No, nothing bad in the court of law is going to happen to this guy. Let it go. I mean, why can't you just say, let it go? Hillary back. Hillary's back. Okay, she is now. First of all, is this a real story, or did we just see this a couple of days and it's gone?
No, well, hopefully we just saw it a couple of days and it's gone. But yeah, there have been over the last few days these kind of reports where she's not, I guess, not necessarily ruling anything out, which is the dumbest thing in the world. Hillary, you have had your 15 minutes of fame. You've had your 30, 45 minutes of fame at this point. Go the hell away. She will be older than Donald Trump is now by the time 2028 rolls around. She is still a hugely unpopular figure in American politics. I don't know why she thinks she could win this. The Democrats need to find somebody under the age of 55. That's what we need. We don't need another octogenarian, which is what she will be in 4 years, trying to run for president.
Yeah.
We need somebody that grew up in a different generation. Maybe somebody that, I don't know, didn't even live through the Vietnam War.
Yeah, Farron, I couldn't help but do this. I wanted to just take a look at articles and see how they described Hillary Clinton. What is the Hillary Clinton impasse? Why can't Hillary Clinton ever move forward in politics? Here are the words. She's not authentic, okay? She's angry. She's unlikable. She's totally without charisma or any visible virtue. These are not my words. She's dowdy. She's a dowdy little thing. Remember, I guess that I looked at that article. That's where they were dressing her up in this peculiar. You remember the peculiar outfits that she wore in the primaries? And these. So I don't know what it is. It is a lack of self-awareness. Is it people around her saying, don't read that you're not authentic or that you're angry or that you're unlikable or that you have no charisma or that you're dowdy looking? Ignore all that. Are people around her telling her that and pumping up in her head the possibilities that she might be president again?
I think they are, because those are the same people that probably worked for her husband They want to get back into power, so they're trying to push her to do it. But I'll add another adjective there for you.
Okay, let me write it down.
I think the biggest issue that's even bigger than all of these, and all these are true, is that she has this sense of entitlement.
Okay.
I am entitled to this office.
Why is that? Because of Bill?
I don't know if it's that or if, her few years as a senator or secretary of state, but she thinks that she is owed this. And that came across to the voters in 2016. She seemed unhappy that she had to talk to them. Like, why am I having to campaign for you?
Yeah.
Go and vote for me because I've earned this. And she has
Because you are a deplorable. Okay, you're a deplorable. What you say doesn't matter. I don't know how she resurrects herself, Farron. I really
she
don't.
doesn't even need to try.
Yeah, I think with her out of the picture, finally, maybe we'll see, goes this fixation on globalism, this fixation on we are the world police that that TPP is a good idea for the United States. That we should have a one world politics. This is all Bill Clinton stuff that she adopted and put on steroids. But we're way past that. All that's over now. And it's almost like the people that are advising need to say, Hillary, look, let me read the words that describe you in all the media. Nobody wants to be told they don't have any charisma, they're dowdy, these are things that she ought to take into consideration. Say, maybe it's time I move on. Let me go write books. Anything else? Homan, okay. We talked about Homan one time. This is a serious guy. Whether you right or wrong, he's serious about what he visualizes, okay? And his vision is to deport 13 million people. Okay. Now, I've always thought if you're going to deport anybody, what you have to do is have in place an alternative for them. Yeah, you can put them on an airplane and fly them back, but before you do that, fill out papers for them to say, I want to be an American citizen. I would like to start the process of me coming to the U.S. At least do that. Give it some compassion. But what he's going to do, I really do believe that we're going to see literally shootouts with these cartels like the Tren de Arga or MS-13. I mean, these are people that have taken over possession of entire condominiums. I don't know if you follow that story, but in Colorado, they actually took over possession of an entire, I guess it was an apartment complex. Did you see this article?
Yeah.
Was it not accurate?
There's a lot of misconceptions, and it is
okay,
very
tell me about
confusing.
it, because it's a bothersome story to me.
What initially happened was that the landlord for the apartments was told by the city or state, anyway, officials, you have to make these upgrades. This place is unlivable. You have created a dangerous environment. Well, the landlord refused to make these upgrades, and then the tenants kind of countered by, we're not going to pay rent. And then, of course, there were some people there that apparently were members of gangs, but it was not...
It wasn't trendy.
It wasn't a, I guess you would say, organized gang takeover, but it did start with, greedy landlord.
The reason
but it's still not obviously a situation anybody wants to be in.
The reason I raise it is because that's the kind of setting that Homan will start with.
Oh, absolutely.
You see, it'll be like Ruby Ridge, right?
Yeah.
Feds come in,
Waco.
It'll be the same kind of thing. That's what we're getting ready to see here. And then when that happens, the American public is going to, by God, who the hell are these people to have AK-47s and shooting at our police? Who are they? And I promise you, this is the first thing we're going to see. He's going to heighten the violence. He's going to create the confrontation, and the American public is saying, by God, it's time to get rid of them. And unfortunately, there's going to be some really good people that are going to suffer that.
And the media will sell it.
Oh, the media. Oh, it's
that's-
headline news.
Yeah.
Firefight with MS-13. Firefight
They'll
with
be
Trend
made
Art.
for TV movies about
Oh,
it, just like with
absolutely.
the
Yeah.
Koresh movement and all
Yeah.
that. But I do think you're right. I think Homan will be the one to do the escalation, and they will pick because they know the places they can go where they can get the response.
There's
they
about
want.
10 of them right now that are already listed.
Yeah,
We're going to
exactly.
go here. Now you got the mayor in Denver saying, "By God, I'm going to stop it." Really? I mean, it's almost like this guy doesn't have any sense of the power of the federal government. It's like he doesn't even know how he doesn't know what happened in 1860. Because it's a true analysis where you had state government saying, well, by God, we're going to do what we want to do. No, you're not, without starting a conflict that has broad expanse.
Yeah,
Tell me what you think about that, because I'm seeing this as a disaster for this America.
When you have the federal government that does have the authority, especially what's going to happen is they're going to declare some kind of national emergency with it. And at that point, no mayor, no governor, you're not going to be able to do anything to stop this. What you're going to do is make the situation worse.
Right.
In fact, at this point, what may be best for you is to sit back and say, okay, listen, feds, it's your deal. It's your deal. You come in, you take these people. When this economy crashes,
Right.
When we lose
Who's gonna build-
200,000 workers overnight,
Who's
that's
going to
on
build
you.
houses, right?
The National Home Builders Association has already issued that warning. Nationally, they have said, who is going to build your homes?
Yeah. We in Florida, we have experienced it, right?
Yeah.
But for immigration in Florida, we still wouldn't have roofs. I wouldn't have roofs. I had the greatest team ever. That they didn't say, hey, we're here to live. They came across the border, they worked, they went back across the border, had money to spend for their family, came back across the border. To handle this with one big stroke is a mistake. And not to have a fail-safe system to where, okay, you got to go right now, but we're going to let you fill out papers that at least can start the process to where you have a chance to come back in.
Yeah.
That's the humane thing to do, to me.
Somebody asked me recently, they said, well, okay, Farrod, look, how do you fix the immigration problem into the United
What do you
States?
say?
I say, you don't fix it within our borders. You fix it in the other countries.
Yeah.
We're spending almost $1 trillion a year on our Pentagon.
Right.
We could take a fraction of that
Spend it
and
in
say,
Mexico
hey, listen,
and
Mexico,
Canada,
we're not going to send weapons to Saudi Arabia. What we're going to do is we're going to help train your police forces, and we will help you make special police forces to go in there, and let's join together and get rid of the cartels and the gangs. We can do that for a tiny fraction of what we're spending on the Pentagon.
Brilliant solution.
And then we go into Central America. We say, listen, climate change has absolutely wrecked your farming economies. We're going to help with irrigation systems. We're going to invest the money so that people don't have to leave, because most of these people don't want to leave. So
I love
if
that
we
idea.
make
I
the
absolutely love that
lives
idea.
better,
Yeah.
then you solve the issue, and we get the people that come here not because they're fleeing horrible conditions, but because they say, listen, there's good work opportunities.
Well, you're saying, but you're also saying that we have to work with Mexico.
Yes.
We have to say, okay, we want you to. We don't want to open our borders, but you have to have in place some structure on your side.
Yeah.
That costs money that Mexico doesn't have. Rather than spending $1 trillion in military, move some money over there.
Yeah.
I love that solution. That's part of the solution. Drunk Kamala. Okay. Now, before we came in here, I said, what the hell? I said, who would even have this video of drunk Kamala out there? And you said, Pap, really? It was all a hoax. That what they did was slow down the video, right?
Yeah.
Talk about it. Because, when I saw, I thought, oh, God, this poor woman, her career's over anyway because the donors hate her because she spent $2 billion in like 3 months. They hate her. She'll never be a presidential candidate. But I saw this and I said, God, did this really happen? And you said, no, it didn't really happen. Talk about it.
Yeah, there was this viral video. I guess it was her Thanksgiving message that she put out to people. And it went viral all over the place because she sounded like she was slurring and really drunk when she did it. But it turns out what had happened was they took the original video and they slowed the audio down
awful, man.
to 75% of the normal speed. So
Yeah.
instead of the 25-second video she actually made, it became a 36-second.
It was convincing.
Well,
I mean,
that's-
I was watching, I was thinking, she's either high on peyote or she's drunk. But look, here's what I couldn't escape. Even if it was regular, even if it was right speed, it was nothing but word salad. Fight, 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 fight who? Fight where? Who are you fighting? Where's the war? Fight, continue your fight. It was such a lack of substance. That's the very definition of who this woman is. Total lack of substance. So I guess, it's like Carville said. It says he has this personal jihad going on. I don't know if you follow. He hates Kamala.
He's been very angry recently.
Oh my God, he hates Kamala. And the reason I guess that's important is because he seems to be the voice of the Dems. It has been since Bill Clinton. I don't know why they can't see. No, the guy's really a lizard, and he's.
Yeah, I mean, we got the crypt keeper out here
don't
telling
let
us
him,
what to do.
Right, don't let him be the voice of our party, but they haven't
He's
done
the guy
that.
who pushed Hillary Clinton on this country. That's
Yeah.
that's Carville's
did he?
legacy. Oh,
Did he?
yeah.
Now tell me about. I missed that.
Yeah, I mean, back in 2014,
That's what
2015, he's the one that
invented
shoved
her.
Hillary.
Okay, I didn't remember that.
But yeah, I mean, with Harris, I think the biggest issue is that there's no sincerity. Hillary Clinton has the problem where she feels entitled. Harris, I think, has the issue where it doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
You can tell me these things. I'm not feeling that you actually believe in this,
or even
either.
understand it, or even understand what you're saying.
You're just kind of reading words and then you move on and forget. And so that, I think obviously with the voters, that definitely rang true. Like, yeah, she said some decent things every now and then, whether her policies were good, but you're not selling it. Well, I'm not getting it
you
from
were better on that than I was. You said, Pat, really, you're overreacting to the fact that there's no. I never saw any substance. You did. Maybe you listened carefully, and I don't mean that critically.
Well, I had to go and I had to find them. She wasn't talking about them the way that she should have. She had a couple speeches where she did, but mostly I went to the website and read through the
Fair enough.
through the
And
policies.
I think,
And it was
when
good.
Yeah, and when you talked about the policies, but your talking point was they're there, but she can't say them. She
Yeah.
can't state them. She
She's
can't
not,
articulate.
you have to be a salesman.
Yeah,
you
you
really
do.
and she just wasn't.
MSNBC and Al Sharpton. What the hell? I mean, really? Could you ever see Walter Cronkite taking $500,000 so Walter Cronkite would do a PR piece on Kamala Harris?
Let me give everybody a little bit of backstory because this one was actually a little difficult to find, but it's a big deal.
Am I right about it, first of all?
Yes.
Okay.
So what happened was it was October. Harris campaign gives $500,000 to Al Sharpton's organization.
Which is, well, I never understood.
I forgot the name of it, but
It's a touchy-feely, I don't know what it is kind of organization.
But
yeah.
the campaign, $500,000. Here you go. 2 weeks later, October 20th, she gets this great sit-down interview on MSNBC with Al Sharpton. A nice, fun time. Everybody's friendly. No hard questions asked. It was a PR move, absolutely. But Sharpton never once mentioned, oh, by the way, viewers, full disclosure, she just paid me $500,000. So the staffers that work on this program, after learning of this, which only happened recently, they're pissed. Other staffers at MSNBC say this is a stain on our network. If you wanted to interview Kamala Harris, you pick up the phone and you say, hey, come in for an interview. It's
Yeah,
MSNBC. I'm Al Sharpton.
Well, this is classic Al Sharpton. I mean, it's absolutely classic. We have made Al Sharpton into something that he's not, okay? Go back and just spend 30 minutes and go back and look at the Al Sharpton history. It will be an OMG moment to know that Phil Griffin hired him because, oh boy, he's a heat talker. Well, you know what? The people, they're still trying to defend this. MSNBC, now some of them may be mad, but you got Joy Reid, these insufferable,
the on-air people,
insufferable
absolutely.
people.
The people that make the shows work, they're the ones who are pissed.
Yeah,
the behind-the-scenes producers.
Nicole Wallace, Joy Reid, you go, come on, man, give it up. Sometimes you just have to go with what's real. This imaginary universe you live in, it ain't okay. to take $500,000 from a candidate and say, you know what, come on in, I'm going to give you a bunch of softball hits. You know, you're going to have this is going to be a PR piece for you.
Well, and
It's just
what's
so
weird
wrong,
too is
man.
that usually you would think it would be the host would have to pay them to come on the show.
Yeah.
She paid him money and ended up on his show. That just kind of seems like a raw deal because she probably could have gotten it for free.
Okay, couple of things. You know what I love about this is you throw stuff at me and I throw stuff at you, and we do this so much that I like the spontaneity of it. So let me throw something spontaneity in here. George Clooney, pissed off at Obama. Say, look, let me get this right, President Obama, friend of mine who you go, you know, you vacation with him. You always see them together. Let me get this right. You asked me to go tell Biden, write an editorial. Was it the Wall Street Journal, New York Times?
I think it was New York
Yeah,
Times.
let me write
that seems more
write an
Clooney.
editorial urging Biden to step down, and then you try to hide about it. You try to say it wasn't me. You go off to Martha's Vineyard and you got your arms around your celebrity pals like you didn't do anything. George Clooney's pissed, man. What do you think? I mean, I don't think it's just George Clooney. They get hustled all the time. These celebs are so goofy. They let these politicians hustle them because to them it means something so much to be able to go to the White House Christmas party. I don't know what else to say. It's like celebrity access. They can't help themselves, man. And that's kind of the way I see the George Clooney story.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous for Clooney to even think there's anything close to, well, you made me tell Biden to drop out. If Biden hadn't dropped out, we would have seen Trump win 47 out of the 50 states.
Okay.
I mean, Biden had no chance. We knew he had no chance.
Well, that's what we were saying for months. And you got hate mail, I got hate mail. Say, how dare you? This is the greatest president we've ever had. Who, oh, by the way, just granted a pardon for his childlike son.
He's the second coming of FDR.
Oh, yeah, they call him the
Jesus.
second coming of the FDR. Okay, so you think that George Clooney got pulled in just like everybody else did on this whole thing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing for George Clooney to do right now with regard to
Go make
politics
movies.
is to not talk about politics. Like, just go, man. Just
Go make
do
movies.
your thing.
Yeah.
Be whatever it is you want to be on screen. But, you know, the politics thing, you struck out this year. Guess what? It happens, man.
Yeah,
You know, so don't sit there and dwell on it. Don't get
Don't
pissed
make
about
it
it.
worse
Right.
for yourself.
When you're in the hole, stop
Yeah,
digging.
you're already the public's looking at like, you idiot. You know, you idiot. They're looking at all these celebs like that. They're saying, why do these celebrities believe they can really change anything? I mean, that's the talking point. I mean, if you hear it, Lady Gaga, you can't change anything. Whoopi Goldberg, you can't change anything. Beyonce, you can't change. But they believe they can because they're in this bubble. It's the celebrity blue Democrat bubble. You see it in Washington, you see it in Hollywood, you see it in the media. Just like the media believed that they were so, MSNBC and CNN believe they're so important. Hell, there's less than 3 million people watching them at any time, right? And you're going, no, you're not.
I guess even less today with the way the numbers are.
Half of that now. So I don't know, but they talked themselves into it. Last story, $6.2 million banana and duct tape. This is something you and I talk about all the time. The class distinction. Okay, the story is Sotheby's. Okay, they have this is the greatest thing you're going to ever see. It's a banana that is duct taped up to the wall. It's a wall. Maybe it was a big piece. Right. And this idiot who's in the tech industry, oh my God, I see such meaning to that. And he buys the thing for $6.2 million. Now that tells me a lot of things. First of all, it tells me he's an idiot. The guy's a complete freakish idiot. Second of all, it tells me that there's such a disparity between the haves and the have-nots right now, that this guy thinks it's great to buy a banana that is taped to the wall and says, this is really art. When the artist says, bullshit, I was just messing around. I mean, that's really what happened here.
It.
So you idiot, you just spent $6.2 million that you could have given to people who don't have food to eat in this country, don't have a place to live, don't have health care. But in your mind, Doesn't make any difference. You have so damn much money, and there's such a disparity between the have and the have-nots that this is a norm.
Well, there almost is some symbolism in it too, if you think about it, because look, we've got a large portion of the country that cannot afford groceries.
Yeah.
And
wow.
this asshole pays $6 million for a banana.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
come eat my banana if you're starving to death. You know, that kind of.
So it is disgusting, and these tech guys, I want that bubble to burst.
It's gonna
want
burst.
these
They're
guys.
going to take it on the chin under this administration. I mean, that's why you have that little nothing Zuckerberg showing up at Mar-a-Lago, pleading with the king to kiss his ring. And this is after the king, Trump, says, if you mess up again, you're going to prison for life.
Bezos with the Washington Post, we got to run 6 stories today about Hunter Biden. We got to do 10 more tomorrow.
Is that what's going on?
Well, he wouldn't let them, for the first time
Endorse.
do an endorsement.
Yeah.
And I think Bezos understands, okay, listen, Amazon, we've got government contracts.
Yeah.
That's what makes up most of our money.
Oh,
we've
was it 60%
probably
of their money? Did you tell me one time?
Yeah, I think it's a little more than
it's
that.
Huge. It's
huge. We could be looking at maybe some antitrust issues. So
Yeah.
let's not piss this guy off.
And oh, by the
anymore.
way, my enemy, Musk, is sitting on the right hand of Trump.
Yeah.
So Bezos is freaked. These tech people, I think it's time. And this banana story to me just goes, oh, God almighty, have we really gotten there? Farron Cousins, I really do believe you're the best progressive commentator in the business. It's been fun, okay?
Thank you.
That's all the time we have, but all these segments are going to be posted right here on this channel in the coming week. So make sure you subscribe. I'm Mike Papantonio. This has been America's Lawyer, where we tell you the stories that corporate media simply won't tell you because their advertisers don't let them. They're going to lose advertising dollars if they tell the story. Or their tribal politics is so bad, it's so Republican, it's so Democrat, that they just can't even color outside the lines. As you can tell, what you saw here, we're really not beholden to corporations or to political parties. We'll see you next time.
That it had helped dirty money flow through its branches around the world, including at least 800...
Plaintiffs allege that the defendants provided money and medical goods to terrorist groups Hezbollah and Jaish al-Mahdi.
This is a well-organized business for these individuals that carry out these attacks. Terrorism is a business, and they run it like a business.
They knew about what was going on for a decade. They absolutely, no question about it, knew that HSBC was washing money. They had every reason to understand it was for terrorism and it was for drug cartels. Took no action whatsoever.
These banks are involved. Their accounts are connected, and they're using them to mask the transactions. The more complicated they can make the transactions, the more distance they can put between the bad guys and the seemingly legitimate purpose of these funds.
They pay $1.9 billion, which is a drop in the bucket compared to what they've made, and nobody goes to prison. These CEOs, these bankers that made this decision, they're safe at home. They know what they've done. It's resulted in the death of Americans, contractors and soldiers, not just hundreds, but thousands. And we look the other way because they don't look like criminals. The die is cast. The people that are responsible are on Wall Street.
And they don't look like criminals. It's almost a suspension of disbelief. Sometimes I'll have people call me and say, is this real? Do they really get away with this? Yeah, they do.